we'll go on to culture of poverty. When we talk about culture of poverty, we're talking about when poor people have that set of values that makes them that keeps them in poverty. So they have set of values. They have a type of system. They have a type of belief, a type of attitude that keeps them in poverty. That is culture of poverty. So here I wrote, this is when poor people have a set of values that keep them in poverty. That means they continue to wallow in poverty based on these values.
Okay.
So what are the features of culture of poverty? One, we have low level of literacy and education. So when people have low level of education or they are not literate, so that's a feature.
Yes.
That will lead to poverty. Two, being unable to plan for the future. When you cannot plan for the future, when you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So that's another attribute of failure.
Yes.
Or poverty. Desiring immediate gratification rather than deferring it. So you think about immediate gratification instead of deferred gratification.
Yes.
So we're talking about you prefer to enjoy right now than to restrict the temptation of enjoying right now for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So fatalism, when you believe that it is you cannot change the situation.
Yes.
Fatalism, we talked about it already. Not using resources and facilities such as banks and hospitals. When you are unable to use banks and hospitals, you are just believing in poverty.
Mm.
However, all the above listed features are directly blaming the poor, forgetting that there's social exclusion, which might have been the reason for people to take up the culture of poverty. So when you look at these features, basically we are blaming the poor for being poor.
Yeah.
We believe they don't want to have education. That's why they are poor. They just don't want to use hospitals. They just don't want to use banks. But that is not the reason. Yeah, but it is not, because when you look at all these features are blaming the poor.
Yeah.
You understand? So we have forgotten that they might take up this attitude because of social exclusion.
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yes.
So when we talk about social exclusion, it means a systematic way of excluding people from enjoying opportunities, rights, and resources that others are enjoying, that might have given them opportunity to become who they are, wealthy. So when you think about this poverty, culture of poverty, those features,
yes,
those features might have been as a result of people being socially excluded in the society.
yes.
And when you are socially excluded, it means you don't have access to resources. You don't, your rights are being denied.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So therefore, poverty refers to material disadvantage. So they are disadvantaged as a result of not having access to these materials. And that might be the reason why they practice this cultural poverty of culture. Do you get it?
Yes.
So those who are socially excluded may miss out on housing, employment, healthcare, transport. So when you miss out on housing, employment, healthcare, transport, what is left for you?
Mm-hmm.
So to tackle social exclusion, government needs to provide financial help and also find ways to integrate people who are socially excluded within the society. Yes. So it is government that has to do something here. Government must involve those that are socially excluded. Not only that, government must come up with financial help.
Yes.
So if these are done, then let's see if poverty will be eradicated or not. And if it's not eradicated, at least it should be alleviated. Mm-hmm. It should be reduced. Yes. Do you understand? So we should not only blame those that are in poverty, that it's their own making. They might be there, they might be practicing those cultures because they are socially excluded. Yeah. I think it's clear. So that's all about poverty of culture and social exclusion. Yeah. So the next one we need to talk about is the sociological theories on and poverty. Yeah. Sure. Yes. So okay. We're going to sociological theories and poverty. So each sociologist, they discuss and they made their opinion known regarding poverty. So we start with the functionalist. For functionalists, I wrote, they see inequality as a positive thing that is functional for the whole society, as it makes the best use of different qualities and abilities that people naturally have. Society must reward some people more than others. So for functionalists, what they are saying is this: they believe inequality is normal within the society. Why? Because some people have the ability and capability to do things, and because they can do it, they should be rewarded for doing more.
Yes.
So, and they feel if people are rewarded for putting effort, it will also encourage others who don't want to put effort to put more effort. So that brings a working society.
Yes.
That is according to functionalists. So functionalists doesn't see anything bad regarding inequality, because they see it as a way in which the society will be functioning.
Yes.
I think the point is clear.
Yeah.
So go to the Marxists. For the Marxists, your friends, they say they see inequality and poverty as the making of the capitalist. So they see it as the making of the capitalist. That means it's inevitable for the capitalists. They always like to pay their workers little as possible, and also like to have. Why do they want to pay their workers as little as possible? Because they want to make profits. They prefer to make more profit than to pay their workers more. Do you understand? That's the first point about the capitalists. And they also said they like to reserve army of labor. So when I talk about army of labor, it means they want to employ people when the economy is booming. And they employ them when the economy is booming, because they need to increase more, they need to increase demand, or they need to produce more.
Yes.
So as soon as there's decline in the economy, they take them out of work. So we call them reserve army of labor.
Yes.
Do you understand? So Marxists believe these are ways in which poverty continues to increase in the society. And sometimes when capitalists feel there is unity amongst the working class, they try to make them lose their job. They make them lose their jobs. And when they lose their job, they become vulnerable. So they give them social welfare. That unity collapse. So that means capitalists would never want poverty or inequality to leave the society, according to Marxists. I declare. So we go to the right. The right-wing thinkers, we call them right-wing thinkers. They are politicians, they are political party who advocate for free markets. So they believe in capitalism. So what do? I wrote, they use the culture of poverty argument to blame the poor for being poor. So for the right-wingers, the right-wingers, wing thinkers, what they said is, based on the culture of poverty, it means the poor are to be blamed for being poor. So that's their own ideology and their own take about poverty. Then the last one is the feminists. For the feminists, they draw their own attention to the higher proportion of women in poverty than men. So they call it feminization of poverty. So they believe women there's high proportion of poverty because women there are a lot of lonely women. So they are lone women, they take care of lone mothers. So they take care of their children themselves without any help from their father. And also there's limited employment opportunities for women. So these are the two reasons they pinpoint that there's a reason why there's high proportion of poverty in women than men. I think it's clear. So what are the consequences now? So we go to the consequences of being poor or being rich. So being poor means, I'm just going to go to the consequence immediately. So being poor means, one, there's high tendency of living in a slum with no security or facility. That's being poor. That's the consequence. Two, no accessibility or limited access to health, education, and other services. That is the consequence of being poor. Exposure to flood, pollution, and landscape. That's also a consequence of being poor. Yes or no? So while being rich means you have assets. You have a luxurious life. Being rich means you have power, either both political and economic power, or either you have political or economic power. Being rich. Being rich means you have a cosmopolitan lifestyle. You have everything within you that you could need. Being rich also means you have quality education, you have quality healthcare and other services. So these are the consequences of being rich or being poor. Is it clear? So the next class, we're going to talk about ethnicity. I think the lesson is clear. Done.